Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me on this video. This is the end of the 30-day challenge with the Blackberry Dtek 60, and I compared it to a few flagships out there, and there are other videos on my channel, including the OnePlus 3 versus the Dtek 60. But in essence, we learned a bunch of things in the last 30 days, and I'm going to conclude those here in what I'm going to call the 30-day challenge Dtek 60 conclusion video. And you can of course check out the videos in their entirety, but I'm going to try to make this a concise summary of everything we learned. So before we get into that, I want to let you guys know about this really cool partnership I have going on with bestskins.ever.com, and they have skins for pretty much everything: watches, laptops, tablets, phones, and even custom skins. And for a short while, if you enter in coupon code exoace at checkout, you get 20% off site-wide. And that's valid pretty much until the end of December, so make sure you guys take advantage of that. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. And the first thing we talked about with the Dtek 60 was a price tag, and at $650 Canadian, this phone is pretty affordable compared to the iPhone 7 or the Pixel, which both start north of $1,000 Canadian. The Dtek 60 is definitely one to consider if you are on a budget. After that, we talked about the build quality of the Dtek 60, which I found to be surprisingly good. I mean, I know this is an Alcatel phone, but regardless, it's a pretty well-built phone. It's got glass on the front and the back, metal on the edges. The only thing I'd really complain about would be the fingerprint sensor not really separated from its surrounding glass, so it's kind of hard to tell unless you have a case on it. And also the camera bump is pretty huge on this thing. We talked about the premium build quality, and we also talked about how slippery this thing is, so how much I'd really suggest you guys get a case on this thing as soon as you can, or at least a skin from Best Skins Ever or something like that. Additionally, we talked about the screen and the resolution being phenomenal. It's a 1440p display, and it looks really nice in videos, and just in icons and in games and in everything in general. It performs pretty well like any other flagship of 2016 or 2017. We also talked about the speakers, and we mentioned that there are grills on the back and the front, but of course that doesn't mean there are 4 speakers, it just means there are 2, and they have vents on each side, so it's kind of hard to cover it up, and it sounds really full and rich when you listen to the speakers on the phone. And in order to power all those multimedia uses for this phone, you'd need a half-decent battery, and in my usage, I found that it lasts me easily from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m., and that's assuming I don't charge at all during the day. And I am definitely a power user with about 5 email addresses, social media, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I've got them all synced up. And this is where we pulled out the big guns and compared the Dtek 60 to the Google Pixel. I didn't have the Pixel XL on me at this point, but just the Pixel, and the internals are all the same, so it's pretty much the same idea. We compared app launching time and overall loading times, and we found that the Dtek 60 was a little bit faster, or at worst, it was about the same as the Pixel. And bear in mind, the Pixel costs about $400 more here in Canada. I even did a benchmark using Antutu 3D, and I found that the Pixel is pretty much the same as the Dtek 60. I mean, it's a little off, but really, who are you kidding? Like, what are you doing that you need it to be that much better in specs? It does everything you need with a bigger display and a cheaper price tag. And it was at this point, towards the end of the 30-day challenge, where I looked at the camera comparison between these two. Now, both of them have great cameras, but I will say that the Dtek 60 is not as good as a Pixel. But again, bear in mind, the Dtek 60's camera is not designed for any photo aficionados. It's designed for the average user, who will be more than happy with the video and picture quality of this phone. Because it shoots in 4K, it has great resolution, the colors look nice. It's one of those things where when you go to Best Buy and you compare the TVs side by side, and when you bring it home, it looks fine. But really, how you're posting pictures to Instagram and Facebook, and no one can tell. It looks really good. And this was kind of the case in both low light, extreme low light, and daylight settings. The video is great on the Dtek 60. The Pixel's a little bit better. And that's kind of the story of the whole thing. And that little bit better kind of comes from the $400 extra that you're paying for the Pixel over the Dtek 60. And that's kind of where we concluded the comparison between these two phones, bearing in mind that they're both Android leaders. Of course, the iPhone 7 is a different beast altogether. It's iOS, but it compares pretty well to the Pixel, so you can kind of extrapolate how the Dtek 60 would stack up against the iPhone. So that is the whole 30-day challenge summarized in a few minutes. And where I'd leave this is the Pixel is a great phone, the iPhone 7 is a great phone, the Dtek 60 is a really good phone. It's just a step behind those other phones, and that's okay. So who is the Dtek 60 for? It's for anyone who wants a half-decent phone at a reasonable price. And because this is a Blackberry, and Boxing Day is around the corner, and Blackberry is releasing new phones, and they're kind of struggling, so I definitely advise picking up the Dtek 60 if you want to bargain a good phone at a good price that has great performance in terms of camera, screen, speakers, battery life, everything you could need. The Dtek 60 is definitely the way to go. So that's been it from me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this 30-day challenge. Be sure to check out the other videos on my channel. There are some more coming out very soon with a giveaway component, so make sure you guys are subscribed for those. and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.